Hey guys, I'm just going to go over the parts we need for the catch can. So obviously, first of all, we're going to need the catch can, which catches all the oil. The bracket I made, so we got a bit of an angle on the back just to help brace it up. And I've done a video of that on how I made that. We've got our adapters. So I'll go over these adapters in a little bit more detail soon. This is the pipe what connects to the bottom of the catch can. That way you can see if you have how much oil your catch can is catching, and also a little drain tap on the end. So this drain tap's actually stainless steel, so it shouldn't rust, same as all the fittings on here are all stainless. We have our hose clamps, which is designed to go on these hoses, because these hoses, one goes to your outlet from the rocker cover and the other one goes to your inlet on your intake, or outlet, whatever you want to call it. So you need these two pipes to go from the catch can to the rocker cover and to the intake pre-turbo. So I'll just go over these parts now. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about these adapters for the catch can. With the catch can, these outlets are way too big for what the Toyota runs in pretty much any other Hilux or whatever else. So what we need is this hole to be downsized to what our car uses. So that's what these are for. There's a company in Brisbane who makes these. So they're actually machined alloy, I believe. Yep, machined alloy. And it's got a tapered fitting, or a tapered thread, because that's how the catch can is designed inside. It's actually tapered as well. And they've actually put in an O-ring so it won't leak. So you can just screw that straight in. So you grab your catch can, put your fitting in there, screw it straight in until the O-ring passes the plastic, and then it's fully sealed. So I'd recommend putting a little bit of oil just on that O-ring so it doesn't get binded when you're screwing it into the plastic. And then you get your other piece as well. Pop it on, screw it in. Oh, get in there. And there's your two barbs. Then you just get your hose, plug your hose on, and that hose is a 5/8, so these are 5/8 fittings. And I'll put a link to the eBay page for these guys, and they're actually really good quality. I've never seen anything like this before, really. So, and they've got a whole bunch of other stuff on their website as well, or on the eBay page, so have a look at it if you see what else you might like.
Okay guys, so first of all we're just working out exactly where we're going to position the catch can. So I'm going to mount it off the intake here. So this is my fancy CAD design. So I'm using just a piece of cardboard to work out exactly where I want it positioned, how high the plate needs to be, which I need to cut out. So basically we're just making a template here. Working out exactly the position we want, where the holes are going to be, how high the plate's going to be, and the exact position we want to cut everything. So here we have a piece of flat steel, or a sheet of steel. It's about 2 mil thick, so very easy to cut with a grinder and a thin cutting blade. So just here I'm using a marker. Make sure you get everything nice and square, but again, it doesn't have to be perfect as it's just going in the engine bay. You're barely ever going to see it anyway. So it's 260 mils long, 121 mils high, basic shape. This isn't the final size, this is just a beginning template where we're starting off with. So here we're just using the grinder with a cutting disc just to get it down to size. Just remember to use your PPE, so put your safety glasses on. If you want to wear gloves, wear gloves. If you want to wear long sleeves, wear long sleeves. Here we're just getting rid of the burrs and my little stuff up there. But again, this is just your first template. So we're just trialing, erroring the position, the shape, the size, and everything else. So just put your first cut in, have a look at it, see how it's positioned. Right now it's too long, so I just went away and cut it. Now this is the new piece which I've cut. Looks like it's the right length now. We're just going to position or work out where the holes are going to be. So I'm using a piece of paper with a greasy finger. So you put the piece of paper over the hole where the bolts are, and you just rub your finger on top of the bolts. See how it's left to mark? So make sure that you don't move the piece of paper and you mark it on the bottom as well. And there we have our 2 marks. So we can roughly get the center of each hole. And I also measured it with the ruler in between the 2 holes on the intake, which was 87 mils center to center. From memory, I went about 10 mil off the edge. Then I just split 87 in half, measured off the center line. That way we can get it nice and even on both sides. Then use the center punch just to mark your hole before you drill. Then I went over to the drill press and drill the holes. So here we're just, after I've already drilled the holes, sorry I missed that with the recording. I must have missed pressing the record button. So I'm just taking the bolts out, taking the sensor off, which activates the valve there, so we have easier access. And we're just mounting the plate up to see how it fits. Putting the catch can on to see how it looks. Now we're marking where we want the catch can to sit. So I marked 1 hole, and when I take the plate off, I can measure where the other hole is going to sit. So I've drilled the holes here. Again, catch cans vary, so whatever catch can you have, you can do the similar thing. That's roughly what it looks like. Here we're mounting it back on to see how it looks. We're going to have to spin the catch can around, which I'll show you how to do that in a second. So with these types of catch cans, you have a piece of plastic on the back which you need to pull off, and this will allow you to spin the catch can around. So it's quite easy, it's very secure, it's a very smart design. And you have like these locking positions. So make sure you get it centered on there, or on how you want it to sit. Then you put the piece of plastic back in there and it's locked. It's not going to spin anywhere. Put it back on your template. And now our hoses are pointing in the right direction. So now what I'm doing here is marking out exactly where I want to cut the excess steel off. So here I'm just marking it out, putting X's where I'm going to cut. Again, I was just double checking with the catch can back on there, and now we're going to start cutting again. Again, if you want to wear your safety equipment, go ahead, make sure you wear gloves, whatever else, so you don't cut yourself on the burrs. Here I'm just cutting off, again, excess, any sharp corners, anything else. Try and make it as light as possible and less likely to cut anything or anyone. Now we're just grinding to make all the edges nice and round. Again, grinding off any of the burrs, making it as neat as possible. We're just using a flap disc. From memory, it was a 60 grit or an 80 grit. Here we're using an angle. This is actually stainless steel angle. It's the only thing I had laying around. So we're cutting this out to put a support on the back, so there's less flex in the plate, or the flat bar, or the sheet steel. So currently the sheet steel is just flapping around, so we need something to make it more rigid. So here I accidentally cut where I shouldn't have. So what I did is once it's back on there, I welded it back up so it will be strong again. So here I'm just doing a few spot welds, making sure it's all secure so it doesn't move. I don't want it to warp, that's why I'm not doing full welds. So I'm taking my time, just doing little spot welds all the way along. We're getting good penetration, and that's what we want to see. I'm not a professional welder or anything, so if I'm doing something wrong, it doesn't really matter, because this works, it's solid. It's not a structural thing. Doesn't look pretty, it just needs to function. So here we're just grinding back some of the worlds where it might cut someone or just make it a little bit neater. Now we're also grinding off the paint and all the scale and everything else, so it's ready for paint. Again, I won't go through the painting process again as we did that in the previous video. So if you're unsure on how to paint it, I just use the high temp paint like I did on the EGR plate. Here it's all fitted up. Nice and strong, very rigid, doesn't move anywhere. It's not going to hit the ABS unit, it's not going to hit any wires, there's plenty of space in between everything. There's no hoses rubbing on the steel either, so it's a good spot. Also with engine movement, it's still not going to hit anything. We did test it out. Again, it's not the most ideal spot, but the owner wanted room around the airbox and the other places for lighting, relays and a few other things, so this is the only place I had left. It's also quite easy to remove from there for maintenance. So here we are now fitting the hoses. I've already painted the bracket. So this is where the air comes from the engine, so it's coming from the rocket cover. Since the engine has done quite a lot of kilometers, the rubber was degraded and very hard to remove, so it was quite stiff, so I had to cut it off. So we're going from the valve cover to the top of the catch can, and then this other hose goes to the bottom of the catch can, which goes into the intake, which is very hard to see with a camera. So I've I do a bit of mucking around, but it's down in there. I made the hose slightly longer as the owner was just going to modify it for me as we're running out of time and running out of daylight. But that is the finished product right there. Works very well. Nice and quiet, nothing's hitting. As you can see, nothing's in the way. And the clear pipe, it leads into the wheel arch. That way you can see and how much oil the catch can has caught, and also you can empty it from down there. So it's very easy access. This was the final video for the EGR block. So stick around for the next one. It's probably going to be the timing belt for the 1HD FTE. Thanks for watching and see you next time.